Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a returning guest. I think you were on, what, 2 years ago? Something like that. It's been a while. Welcome
Maybe
back to the show,
three.
Tim.
Yeah, it
Rec-
was maybe 3 years ago.
was it?
I think.
What
I'm
episode
not
number am
sure.
I on? Wait, actually, it might actually be 4 years.
time time since the COVID
Yeah,
makes no sense for me. So
because I think you were on episode 50 or something like that. So I'm on like,
maybe
and I do weekly episodes, and it's 250
don't
now.
don't go check it out. Don't check it out.
Jeez, that was ages ago. How you been? Yeah, how's
Yeah.
life been?
Hi everyone. So my name is Tim Krief, and yeah, I'm a game developer. I'm French game developer. So right now we are like 10 hours apart or something.
Something like that, yeah.
It was hard to schedule the meeting because I told you Tuesday, but then I checked the time and I was like, wait, for my Tuesday, if
Right,
some of my Tuesday is not your Tuesday,
right, right.
so that was funny.
Honestly, I find it a
Um,
lot easier to work. It might seem weird, but I kind of find it easier to work with US times just because it's such a big gap. Like with a US time, it's like 18 or 20 hour gap. So it's almost the next day, just a few hours different. With like any European time, it can get a bit difficult sometimes.
yeah.
I can be up at 4 in the morning sometimes recording. I'm not today. It's 8:30 p.m. here, which is nice. But yeah, time zones are fun. Basically, I'm not a fan.
I'm really glad to be back because last time you told me if I have a game releasing or something like that, I can come back, and I did not have a game releasing for quite some time. So it means a lot to be able to come back and have something to show, but basically,
It's an absolute pleasure to have you
and
back on.
yeah. And I've been listening to your show since then. You're one of my main source for not just Linux information, but Linux trivia, I guess.
Thank you for
Because
that.
sometimes, yeah, because the last one was the one with the bird.
Yeah, yeah. The oracular
The
Oriole video.
yeah the worst bug. You know what? You really clickbait me
Mhm.
on this one because I was like, oh no, do I need to update something? Do I need to? Is my computer going to burn like tonight? And then it's just a stupid wallpaper,
I
but
like to
it was
keep
very
people on their
funny.
feet. You got it. Like I can do these serious
Yeah,
videos all the time, but I like to just throw in just a random little one just to make sure that people actually are paying attention.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I I,
So
I do have a couple other fun ones that I do want to talk about at some point.
yeah.
I there's a really dumb pull request that uses a really stupid library that I think a lot of people have no idea exists. So that's gonna go up at some point. And I've got an end of year video that I think is gonna be very fun. That I think is going to bother a lot of people, but it's gonna be too funny not to make. So I'm gonna have to do that in the next
Yeah,
coming weeks.
I'll check them out.
So, for anyone who is unaware of your work, I guess we can just get straight into the current game that you actually, released.
Yeah.
Because I think the last time you were on here, were you working on Crafty County back then, or was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was working on Crafty Country back then. So the thing is, when I was working on Crafty County,
Mhm.
I knew that you had to expect more work than you think you will have to do,
Mhm.
but the scales were not good in my evaluation.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you have to expect like way more work than what you will think, because at some point on Crafty Country, I was like, wait, if I want to finish this game, now that I see the scope, I see how things work.
Mhm.
I think there's like 2 years of full-time work on this, on
Right.
top of what I already spent. So I had multiple choices. I could try to get funding and commit for 2 more years on this project, or I could, but that will be my first project that I will release,
Mhm.
or I could try to release other stuff that will that will have a smaller scope, so that I can technically get through them by myself, because I'm
Mhm.
on a shoestring budget, so I cannot really at this point employ anybody. Or
Mhm.
I have friends that help me with some stuff, but they are not working on on my games, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
and and then, so this project is called Fallacy Quiz.
Mhm.
And this is funny how it happened, because at first I received a message
Mhm.
telling me that my Google developer account is going to be terminated because I was inactive for too long,
Right.
because I had a developer account to publish apps.
Mhm.
So I was like, what should I do? Should I publish something on the like an app, so that I can keep my account up and running?
Mhm.
And and at that time I was really interested about cognitive biases.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, I I wanted to make maybe a video series about that on my French channels that are not like dev related, or stuff like that. And then I was like, hey, it could be the perfect match. I could make a quick quiz app about that stuff.
Mhm.
Then I rushed to get something running, and and then it completely transformed, because I ended up ignoring entirely the the app requirement. It's not going to be an app at all in the end. My Right now my Google account is being terminated.
I didn't even know they cleaned out old accounts.
Yeah. They want me to. They have insane requirements for uh like for staying there, you know.
Mhm.
But at this point I was like, at this point the game, I was really interested with this game, and the fact that the scope was way smaller. It's a quiz game,
Mhm.
meant that I could go full crazy mode, ambitious about it. And that's what I like. And so this little prototype that was ready in 2 months or so was expanded a lot. And I thought I was able to release it
Mhm.
like 2 or 3 months ago. I even sent you a DM like,
Mhm.
hey, my game is going to be out in 2 weeks or something,
Mhm.
so maybe you can talk about it. But yeah, now it's going to finally be out on Steam on December 19th. So I have
Nice.
finally a date, so that's really cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, it expanded a lot. The game is in 3D, with hand drawn stuff in it, with a virtual 3D book inside it to have access to definitions. And there's a local multiplayer mode, 4 player, full controller support. Things adds up quickly when you want to make things correctly.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we can talk if you want about how long each features took. But yeah, so the game was released in beta state on itch.io,
Mhm.
and got a lot of interest, because it was put in front page, featured. So it's really refreshing to have eyeballs and people getting you feedback. It's a lot of new new stuff I experienced as a developer, because before that I was working on stuff that no one played, and now like 400 people got the beta.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I think
that's
the
pretty
first thing
cool.
that like instantly sticks out with this is like the art style is very, very striking. Like for anyone just listening, basically as you're going through each of the questions that are being asked, there's like some guys that are basically like cut out with paper being held up with like popsicle sticks, and they're as
Yeah,
if like having a conversation. And it looked
yeah,
like
like
I've never seen. There might be another game that uses a style like this, but I certainly haven't seen anything like this before.
yeah, like little paper puppets
Mm-mm-mm.
with illustrations. Um, I have maybe 100, more than 100 illustrations made. Um, Now it's going to be a feature, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's made by a human.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have 100 illustrations, and there are 200 questions. Each questions you have two illustrations that show up.
Uh-huh.
So I have enough illustrations so that they are always topical to the question. Um, and that way you have some context just looking at the little pictures.
Well, just that part by itself, how long did it take to do that art for it?
So
Well, I'm sure there's also
the
the brainstorming stage for what you wanted to draw, and then actually drawing it as well.
so maybe that's the interesting part, that
Mm-hmm.
how do I know what to draw.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote all the question, not all the questions, because I had a first batch for the beta,
Mm-hmm.
but I wrote a lot of questions, 80 I think, for the beta. And for each questions I wrote keywords
Mm-hmm.
that were just keywords. And then I used all this information afterwards to make a list of all keywords from all the questions. I tried to join keywords that look alike,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had a list of keywords, of a list of keywords, so that I could draw stuff to match them,
Mm-hmm.
and that way I was able to know what I should draw. And then for the second batch of questions,
Mm-hmm.
I created a full like tool to edit questions, to be able to select keywords, and from the keywords to be able to match keywords with pictures. And so this tool is over engineered, but it's really cool. I
Right, but
was
it
able to
automates some of
see,
the process if you wanted to add more
yeah,
questions in the future.
exactly. A lot of stuff now is helping. So now I have the full list of all pictures, and I can see how much I use them in my questions,
Right.
like the frequency,
Mm-hmm.
so that the next question could try to use the illustrations that I use the less, so that when you play the game, you don't just have like the man picture again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And so and after all of this, when I created all my other questions, there are 200 in the game right now. I was able to in my tool to give ratings to keywords, keywords illustration pairs,
Mm-hmm.
so that some keywords were rated badly because the illustration did not match it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I was I made a table with a score for the worst keywords. So for instance, sometimes you had like disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
and this one was represented by just a man, for instance, and so this was low rating. So I knew I had to redraw this one with a specific one for this use case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's clear or not, but
No,
yeah, I
I think I understand where you're going with that. So basically, you have
y-
like you have the index of keywords or like a table of keywords, and then
yeah,
basically you can assign images to each of those words, and then use those images
exactly.
for further questions. Basically.
And then rate keyword picture match,
Mhm.
so that I know if I give a bad rating to that, I know in the later stage when
Right. Right.
I'm going to draw stuff,
Mhm.
that I will have to redraw that because the pairing was bad.
Mhm.
So yeah, so all of that meant that I was never going on Krita. So everything was drawn in Krita.
Mhm.
I was never in front of a blank page, like what I'm going to, what should I draw now? No, no,
Right.
no. I was getting through them, like, okay, now I need to draw that. I did everything on stream.
Mhm.
All the drawing was done on stream, on stream. Um, that way, I was not stopping. I was going, and I think all the drawings, maybe 3 or 4 working day
Mhm.
for all the drawings.
Okay. There we go. I found one of the streams. Okay. Okay. So basically, you just have it all blocked out, and then you just basically use those blocks you have to draw each of the pieces of art you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a big spreadsheet.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. 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 Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense then. So basically, you just had you started with the questions first, and then you knew what keywords you wanted, and then just drew the art
Yeah,
from that, rather than doing it the other way around, where
exactly.
you start with the drawings, and then you don't exactly know what the questions are necessarily going to
Yeah,
need.
and that way I can use the most of my illustrations, because if I do it the other way, like, oh, I might use a hot dog, and then I have no question about that, so
Right.
the thing goes unused. Yeah. um yeah, and also that tool was a lot of so yeah, I made a tool to be able to edit all the questions, the translations too, because the game is in English and in French.
Mhm.
So to be able to see all the translation, the keyword pairing, the to select which what the answer is going to be.
Mhm.
It made the job way easier than just working on a big JSON file, because that's what I had to go through for the beta,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that was rough.
So,
And then
well,
yeah,
I was gonna
yeah,
ask, and unless there was more you wanted to say there, I was gonna ask, how did you go about doing the question side? How did you go about deciding how you want questions to be structured? Specifically, what you wanted, like what what fallacies you wanted to base things on? Because I'm sure there's a ton of things you could have included that you didn't necessarily have time to. There is a
yeah,
scope limit that you need to set yourself to. Otherwise,
exactly,
you're gonna be in the same situation again, and you're never gonna
exactly,
release
exactly.
anything.
The first, like, I think it was the first day.
Mhm.
The first day I decided to focus on um like debate fallacy, like the fallacies you will encounter when talking to someone,
Mhm.
and let aside all the cognitive biases,
Mhm.
because my initial idea was all fallacies, including all the cognitive biases, all the stuff that causes you to fall into dark patterns. Sunk cost fallacy, for instance, is
Mhm.
not in the game, because sunk cost fallacy is not really something that is rhetorical or logical that
Mhm.
someone is going to use in an argument. They could, but it's more a cognitive bias.
Mhm.
A lot of rhetorical fallacies exploit cognitive biases, but I decided to focus the game on what you will encounter in a debate with someone. So that was my first decision to cut the count,
Mhm.
and then I just already had a list of all the I went through a lot of lists. A lot of people, when they list that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
they go really technical,
Right.
and you have a little a little difference between them, but for most of us, we don't know what this difference is.
Right. So
And
it's more
so
like they're conceptually very similar, but if you're getting very deep into the weeds, there are technical differences between these concepts. But most
Yeah,
people, unless they're like really thinking hard about it, is going to seem like the same thing.
yeah, like when you causation, correlation, fallacies, you have like 5 of them.
Mhm.
Maybe the cause is the same for the two consequences. Maybe it's another cause, maybe they are related. In my game there's just causation, consequence, correlation. Yeah, like there's one fallacy, and a lot of stuff like that. I grouped them so that it was going to be easier for people and more useful for people, because most people, they don't need to graduate logical school.
Right.
They need to be able to point out to their speaking partner, to point out this was false, the reasoning was false because this is that type of fallacy, and be able to explain the broad idea. You don't need to exactly point out like the Latin name
Right.
of.
Right.
So yeah, so my game is going from that perspective. I'm not using any, like there's I'm not using like ad hominem. A lot of people use the term ad hominem, but even that is not in the game.
Mhm.
I think I use appeal to spite or something.
Mm.
So yeah, I try to use common words to be able to describe stuff.
I feel like that's one you could probably get away with because most people, I feel like, probably
Yeah,
heard that at least once.
yeah, of course, but it was like like it's to show you how much I tried
Right.
to
Right.
not use that, because you don't know the other ones. Like some of them, like
No, I've
uh
got a list open on Wikipedia right
and
now.
yeah.
Argumentum ad baculum. I don't even know if I pronounced that correctly.
Just imagine yourself in a discussion with someone, just telling them,
Ipsy
"Hey, this is
dixit.
this is an argumentum ad bacanum."
Yeah.
It's not really telling of what's happening. Yeah, but even by doing all of this, so in the end I have 50 fallacies,
Mhm.
different fallacies. In the beta I had less, and
Mhm.
some people pointed out some more interesting things to add. For instance, the fallacy
The
was
fallacy of
added.
what? What is
The
that one?
fallacy is when you use the fact that your
Ah, here we go. Argument from fallacy. Yep.
interlocutor is using a fallacy to tell them that they are wrong.
Uh-huh.
But you cannot tell them that they are wrong. You can only tell them that the reasoning is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one people really like to use on the internet. They just like to be like, logical fallacy. It's like, okay, can we have a conversation, please? Like, what are we doing right
Yeah.
now?
So, but even with 50 fallacies, a lot of them are subset of one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have broad categories like generalization,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have generalization, biased generalization, hasty generalizations, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was also hard in the game to be able to have them in. So I had to make sure that they will not show up at the same time in the possible answers,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that it's not frustrating for you when you play to be able to have to choose between a category and a subset of this category as the two options,
Right,
because
right.
one is more specific than the other, but the two of them are true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that being kind of annoying, especially if, like, yes, if you have like a deep knowledge of this, sure, you probably work it out. But if you're someone who is actually using this as a thing to like learn about these fallacies, you may not again, understand those distinctions properly yet, and
Yeah.
properly be able to really work out especially work out what you're doing wrong, which would be more annoying, right? You
Yeah.
think you've got the right answer, but it's like, oh, it's this other category, but in your head, they're the same thing. So I see exactly what you're saying there.
That was one of the feedback I got from the beta. People were like, "What? Okay, you're telling me the answer was this, but then you go to the next question, and now I cannot really reflect on what's happening." So after each question, you're able to check the fallacy glossary, and I'm okay. This one I might have been a bit too ambitious with this one,
Mm-hmm.
but I made a full 3D virtual
Oh,
book.
that's what the book is. Okay. Yeah.
So maybe you can check on.
Yeah,
I
I've
have
got the
a
trailer open on Steam right now.
okay. So the game. So you're playing the game. So it's at the beginning of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing the game, and then at the end of the question, you can check the glossary, and it zooms out of the monitor.
I didn't notice the monitor part.
And you're now in a 3D environment
Uh-huh.
where there's a book on your desk that you can open, and yeah, the book is really
How does the book
detailed.
work? I'm actually curious from like a technical perspective how that actually functions. Because the computer screen part, that's fine. It's just you take the
Yeah,
2D image, you glue it onto a 3D model. Fine. But how does the book work?
yeah, the book was really fun to. Maybe we can circle back to the technical things for the book later.
Okay, yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
yeah, because first I wanted to say that uh, about how did I decide on what topic to include in the game.
Mhm,
I I think it's really hard to learn about that stuff.
mhm,
Like I spent okay, I had a lot of resources about this in my bookmarks for years,
mhm.
and I was like, yeah, one day I'm going to go and check them out because I think it's really cool to help me think better and to help me when people try to. Can I swear here?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
People try to bullshit me, so
Mhm,
I can check that, but I never. I think a lot of people do that. They just have a bookmark with, "Hey, that seems cool." A
mhm.
list of 50 fallacies that people use, and I never checked it. So
Right.
when I at the beginning of the year, as I said, I was interested about that stuff. And I went and I checked everything
Mhm,
one by one, and it took me one or 2 days, like as if I was a student
mhm,
in like a year three degree on that topic, and information was not easy to ingest.
mhm.
Uh, it was written by people that were not debating day to day, that were studying text about that stuff all day long. When
Right.
you try to find fun ways to learn about that stuff, you have videos that sometimes good, but even those videos are like 1 hour long lists of yeah, or maybe I found like it's a really cool video of a teacher
Mhm,
just explaining that stuff to you, but again, it's 30 minutes for one fallacy, and it's like a lecture. So, and I was like, wait, isn't that supposed to be one of the main stuff people should be able to do, like
mhm.
reasoning? Why is it so obfuscated or uh, in books, or
Mhm.
S- I think there's I saw one game on the trolley problem. There's one
Mm.
game on the trolley problem, and I think we need more games like that to explain and
Um,
um, make philosophical or logical topics more relevant and more easy to ingest.
mhm. Oh. I know. I think there's a couple of games on the trolley problem. I don't know which one you're specifically talking about, but
Yeah, I saw one, but I'm not sure which one might be. But yeah, that's the
yeah,
kind of
I remember
games
one that
we
like
need.
a lot of
Yeah.
streamers were playing, not that long ago. But I'm blanking on which one it was. I'm sure someone's gonna know in the comments.
So yeah, so I think that's why. And some people did quizzes, like you have quizzes online about all sort of stuff. But I think this one is the like I tried to give the level of polish that will make it so that you would want to go through it.
Right, yeah, looking at like a wall of text or just a wall of questions, like if you're studying it and you want some
Yeah,
like refresher material, sure. But if you're someone who is maybe just trying to first learn about this topic, or you want not a 40-minute lecture on a logical fallacy, having something that's considerably more approachable, I guess, does help a lot more people actually even consider trying to learn about the problem.
yeah, I hope so. And so now we can go back to the glossary, the fallacy glossary.
Mm.
So how I made it technically. So the worst part was writing the content.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Because it's not like boilerplate content. I try to, with the same spirit, I try to use simple words, and I try to give solutions for what you could do in a conversation to go out of this situation. Like if someone is for instance doing an appeal to authority, what should you do, you know? Because I see a lot of people that have the good arguments, but they fall into traps when they, for instance, someone try to uh, use the association uh, fallacy, like when you tell the person that they are associated to another person that is badly
Right, guilt by
uh,
association. Yeah.
yeah, guilt. Yeah, that's the one. Guilt by association. And a lot of people answer to this, uh, trying to to tell, no, I'm not associated with them. You're lying or stuff like that. You can just tell them you're using the guilt by association fallacy, and even if I'm associated with them, it means nothing about me. So you can have the upper uh, position in that exchange. And
Well,
if you try
assuming
to,
you're arguing with a reasonable person.
yeah, but yeah, I'm imagining the conversation in front of an audience.
Sure, yeah.
So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, yes, just leave the room at this point if you if you're arguing with someone that is not reasonable, like, okay, have a nice day, um so yeah, so back to the technical part. And yeah, that was a really rough week of me trying to make it work. And the best way for doing this is to um, divide the work into smaller step and focus on the smaller steps, creating black box with all the nasty stuff in it. And then you can use this black box as if it was a working thing. Most of my book is horrible. Like most of the code making it work, it's horrible. But if I made it in a way that all the code was in like one script, I could not handle it. But I'm working on parts. So first I'm working on one page. How do I make one page work? So I modeled the page in Blender. with the animation to open the page.
Mhm.
The animation took a while to figure out because the 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 shape was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I tried it in the game, it deformed all the texture, you know.
Well, you've
So
clearly done
yeah,
like a really good job in it. Like looking, just I keep looking at it. I'm not noticing anything that like looks. Like, it looks like a book that's flicking through pages.
yeah. I went really far with it because I'm even making the how do you call that, the back, the back of the book.
Uh-uh.
I'm making that slightly change its angle when you
Oh,
go through the pages.
oh God, you are insane.
And also the page is like is angled to lay on the table.
Uh.
So and the more pages you flip,
Mm-hmm.
the more they will be packed together because they're more weight.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, so I work on one page to make one page work when I open. Then I work on the same page, but now I need to open it in the different position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an animation for closing the page, and I cannot use the same animation because if I use the same animation in reverse, the physics is not the same, because when you take a page and you flip the page,
Mm-hmm.
that will be strange to play that animation in reverse, because
Right.
that will mean that you, like, if you had to do that with your hand, that will
Wait.
mean that
Give me. I'll
you
grab a
take
book.
this.
That'll be easy. I'll just grab a book.
I have some books here. You have one?
What's happened here? Okay, there we go. We're good. Okay, here we have one of my prized possessions, my copy of the Complete Idiot's Guide to Windows ME. Okay, okay. I paid like $3 for this. Okay, so let's say move this here. Let's say we have this page that we're flipping over. Say this one here. So if you were to just, I don't know if you, there we go. Here, yeah. So if you just flip that back over like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not the it's not the same animation if you open it
Mm-mm.
and if you open it so what I did is each time each time I played animation in reverse, my page do a 180 rotation
Mm-hmm.
so that I can open it in the other from the other side.
Oh, actually, that's okay. Okay.
But then the textures are wrong. So at the same time, the textures
Of
also
course they
flip
are.
180.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, all of this crazy stuff, it's a black box. And now I can use a page.
Mm-hmm.
This is one page and it's working, you know? I can
Mm-hmm.
open and close the page. So now I create so it's called scene in Godot,
Mm.
a new scene where I use my page to be able to so I have also the textures that are rightly mapped. So now I create a new page with textures that I can have 2D stuff drawn on them.
Mhm.
um, and I was amazed. At first, I was like, I will have to pre-render the text for all the pages. I didn't have to. All the pages, I think there's more than 100 pages.
Mhm.
They are run. They are all drawn. So they're all only drawn once. Most of them are only drawn once because I only need the picture to be drawn once. But they're all drawn at the beginning and stored in memory, and it works. And at first I was like, I will have to make some trickery to only display the two active pages. I did not have to do that. So kudos to Godot for being able to handle that many pages even on my 2018 laptop. So I did tests to be sure it was not just like my developer computer. Oh, that works. Let's ship that, and no
Yeah,
one
it
could.
works fine on my 4090. There's no issue.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not Ubisoft, okay?
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
so yeah, so then I made I was able to draw stuff on those pages. Then I made a stack of all the pages, and this one was like to be able to animate all the pages. That was quite some work. I made functions to dictate the position of the page, the angle of the page, the scale of the page based on where it was in the book.
Mhm.
And everything is procedural. So if I want to add a page now, I don't see this code anymore because everything is procedural. I had to tweak stuff to be able to add hardcovers. Yeah, because the cover is hard and
Yeah, I did notice
flat,
that. Yeah.
and it doesn't work the same as everything else. And then
Mhm.
once once all of this was done, I was able to use all of that with a new scene to be able to generate the pages at runtime.
Mhm.
So I have templates for my pages, and I have my database of all my definitions, and all the pages are generated at runtime. And okay, so all of this seems complicated, but I also add an index
Mhm.
where you can click on the names of the fallacies in the index in the book. Like on the pages, you have links.
Right.
So so you have to interpolate the click based on the 3D environment.
Uh-huh.
So that was another kind of worm.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Also, I had to make the page interactable. So the yeah.
Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't just make it so you could like grab a corner and like slowly flip it over as well.
No, it's no, because that's not really adding much.
Neither is the book.
Okay, will you have read if it was just a block of text?
Sure, yeah, I'll give you that. It's look, don't get me wrong, it's really cool. Again,
Okay,
it's a great idea. It's just this was clearly a lot of work.
people go here just to flip pages,
Mhm.
so it's a win in my book.
Mhm.
Wink, wink.
So how long
Yeah,
did the book take you?
okay. The technical side. I think it was a big week,
Mhm.
a full-time week, and it's only for it to work. Then I had maybe 1 or 2 weeks for the content,
Mhm.
and then maybe some more days to refine the visuals, the textures, because I try to use realistic textures and stuff like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
For the book to be able to be read during the gameplay, that was maybe 1 or 2 weeks on top of this, because like it 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 was there was some refactoring of the quiz itself to be able to make it play inside a 3D environment.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when it worked, it was so satisfying. Um, okay, I was torn at first about letting people check the definitions during gameplay,
Mhm.
because it's weird. You're like in a quiz. Why would you have access to all the definitions?
Mhm.
But then with that perspective of you are pausing the game on the monitor and you are looking at a glossary on your desk,
Mhm.
you're telling the player, hey, that's what you're doing. You're exiting the quiz, checking definitions. So it's clearly communicated that then you go back to the game.
Well, if you really wanted
And
to, you could also just have a harder mode as well where you can't look up the glossary.
there is a secret level of difficulty in the game, an extreme difficulty.
Extreme difficulty.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, so
Where
okay,
you
what's expert mode then? How's that? What is that? Do you
okay, so
you've easy, you're expert, and then what is this extreme?
yeah, so easy mode is it is it fallacious or not?
Mhm.
You don't have to specify what type of fallacy.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then when you answer, the game will tell you, hey, by the way, this was this fallacy.
Mhm.
So that way you can warm up, learn the terms, what all the fallacies are, unlock them, because at first they are not unlocked in the glossary. You have to unlock them to be able to read their
Right.
definitions. And then when you have sufficient score, you unlock the expert mode, which now you have to select what type of fallacy is going on.
Mhm.
You have 4 options. So now you saying valid or fallacious is not sufficient enough. You need to exactly point out what the fallacy is. Sometimes it's simple, other times it's tricky. You and yeah, and then there's a secret mode. This one is experimental, and this one is the extreme mode. You have there's no valid statements anymore,
Okay.
because if even in expert mode, you still have valid statement from now and then, like without any fallacies in them.
Mhm.
In extreme mode, you don't have them anymore, and you have 6 possible choices instead of 4.
Mhm.
And this time, I'm remember when I told you that I made sure you didn't have categories that could step onto another.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now I'm making sure you have all the possible
Right.
categories that could collide,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you don't really have access to the glossary in this one.
Mhm.
So
And by you saying it was experimental, I'm assuming that's like not ready yet.
it's in the game, but there's not a big button to play it.
Mhm.
It's you have to go into custom mode and select this level of difficulty when you unlock it.
Mhm.
And why did I make that way? It's because, as I said, the categories collide. They
Mhm.
so I'm not sure a lot of people uh like a lot of people will say, hey, my answer was right. It is an appeal to fear, for instance,
Mhm.
when it was another one was more specific, so that one was the one that was supposed to be correct.
Mhm.
So I think most people will not like this. uh so yeah, that's why it's not and also I like when you play a game, you think it's done, and then you unlock a secret stuff and you have more.
No, I get that. Yeah, that is fun. I am yeah, I always like, especially so with like when I was younger and I just had lots of time to just play games. It was fun to just like come across, a secret boss in a game or a secret area that you're supposed to be able to get that you haven't like glitched out of the game. It's just not obvious how that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, yeah. When you play Mario and you go in on top of something, you're sure no
Mm,
one ever thought to go there. You're like, I'm the first one going there, and then there's a coin
right, right, right.
telling you, "Hey, we know you were going to go there." So
Well, Mario is a really good example because there are cases where you can go an alternate exit through the level, and that's how you would get to like the cannons and stuff to get to like the
Yeah.
yeah, just get like entire worlds in some cases.
Yeah. I think the worst case was Mario 3D Land,
Mm.
where you unlock another game. Like at the end of the game, they say, "Oh, by the way, there's another game." Oh, there's all the levels. There's double the amount. Nintendo does that a lot because they are targeting different player categories.
Mm-hmm.
They are targeting children, uh, hardcore player, people who like Mario but they have a job,
Right.
and so they give you a lot of exit points.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a lot of occasion to tell you, hey, by the way, if you enjoyed the game, you can just leave now and you've seen most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And but some players they want to play for like days, so they are like, okay, for you can continue playing for hours and hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was in Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm.
I see a lot of people that liked the game at first and now are telling, yeah, it was mid. Did you see this reaction online of
Um,
people saying, yeah, it was not that good, Tears of the Kingdom?
I
And
don't
yeah,
recall it, but I probably wasn't paying super close attention anyway.
yes, I was watching a lot of people commenting the game, and like you have those videos like 6 months later, was the game really good, or
Mm-mm.
was this and I think a lot of those people, they played way too much of that game. I On my game, I'm at 200 hours or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fun.
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
I get that. Yeah, there's some people that like to absolutely no life a game, and there are very few games where you can legitimately put in hundreds of hours and still find it enjoyable. And even
yeah,
then, there are games that have content for that. Like I play a lot of Path of Exile, and Path of Exile 2 came out the other day. There are people who've already put it came out on Saturday. People have already put 70 hours in the game. Um
they never stopped playing.
no, and you look at the Reddit, and the Reddit is just game bad, game bad, like go outside.
Yeah, so I'm sure if you stop at if you my first 60 hours of Tears of the Kingdom, that might be the best gaming experience of the decade, you know?
Mhm.
Of course, if you water down this experience with 200 more hours where you chase down little trinkets,
Right,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
fun. They put that many stuff in that game so that you could encounter them just by going anywhere.
Mhm.
They don't put that much so that you have to go and find them all. And I think I think that's why some people go back to this review and say, I didn't like it that much,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm the kind of person who, when I was younger, I would, try to achievement hunt and platinum a game or whatever specific system they call their achievement system. And I've come to realize as I've gotten older, like, yes, I could do that, but I think a much better way to handle games is just play it until it, like, if it ever stops being fun, it's just stop playing it. Like, it's a video game. It's not a. I know that again, going back to the Path of Exile example, if you mention in the global chat, if you ever mention that something is fun, you'll get tons of comments like, this is Path of Exile. Fun is not allowed here. Obviously, people are joking because this is a game where people will spreadsheet out their entire build. They will spend 50 hours just theory crafting a build before the league even starts. If you want a good example, for anyone who's unaware of Path of Exile, let me just if you just look at the Path of Exile skill tree, it has well, Path of Exile 1, it has 1,350 nodes.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, yeah. The Path of Exile 2 has more nodes at 1,500.
It looks like a parody.
Yeah. You don't obviously don't get every single point. Each of those, so they're your different characters start at different points on the skill
Yeah,
tree.
okay.
So all of the classes are on the same skill tree. That's why it's so big.
Okay.
But even then, like, you will get 120 points or so to assign to your build. So people spend a lot of time theory crafting that. And like, where was I going with this? Right, people spending way too much time playing a game and just not having fun with it. Just play it. Like, Hades 2 is a good example. The early access game came out not too long ago. I'm not grinding it. Like, I'm doing new stuff when they add it, and then I stop. Because I know if I play the game too much, I'm going to, outlive the fun of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same for Echoes of Wisdom that came out recently. I saw people commenting on the lore of the like the story of the game a week after its release, and I was like, no, this is a fun little Zelda game. I'm not going to no life to finish it. It's
Right.
and I finished it like 1 month or 2 months after everyone else. And people were already like retrospective of this game. Second, I'm like, I just finished it. It was fun. It's and people were like, hey, it's the worst reviewed Zelda ever. And I'm like, yeah, it's not supposed to be the next Tears of the Kingdom. It's a GBA game for the next generation, And
Also,
instead
I
of
really doubt that's true. There have been some bad Zelda games in the past. Let's not pretend like this is the worst rated one.
No, they were saying like for the past 15 years or something.
Okay, sure. If you want to give that criteria, because I guarantee if you go back, I'm sure you can find a couple of things in there.
Zelda 2 was even Nintendo is like this game never happened. But I think we need to praise little, like, Nintendo is one of the last big players who is putting out little experiences like this.
Right.
You have Sony making spending hundreds of millions of dollars on remakes.
Well, no, remakes are one thing. Remakes
No,
of games
remasters.
Remasters, remakes of games from the prior generation that you can play on the PS5 because it's a PS4 emulator.
Yeah, like, okay, like the Horizon.
Yeah, that's
one.
The worst offender.
I think we need to praise when a big player like this does make a little game that is not supposed to be the next big thing, and that is supposed to be played like in the transit, in the public transport and stuff like that. And the Horizon. That's funny because I got in a Steam sale during the summer. I got Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one, and I was able to play it with all the PC improvements, with the foliage that is moving and stuff like that, and it was really beautiful. And I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool! I can have better graphics than if I had a PS5, PS4, PS5." And then I was like, "Hey, that's in not really." Different from a game that will come out today because they added patches to, and then they make a full remaster of the game, and I'm like, why would I ever buy this?
Right.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I miss the days where the giant studios would make these random small experimental titles. Like, you know, we can talk, you know, Ubisoft back when they were doing Prince of Persia, or Assassin's Creed in its very early days. Like Assassin's Creed, they didn't know that was going to succeed. The first
Yeah.
game was really weird. Also, the main character was voiced by an American, even though everyone else had a very obvious Middle Eastern accent. I don't know why the main character was American. Don't think about it. Not very important.
But they did do a Prince of Persia, a little Prince of Persia.
The issue with that one is, oh, uh, wait, that did what happened? Eh? Okay, I'm gonna restart the call. That's weird. Why am I here twice now? Okay. That'll probably fix itself in a moment. What I was gonna say about what I was gonna say about Prince of Persia is it's probably a really good game. The issue is the market of Metroidvania games is very it's very different than it once was, right? Like Metroidvania is now the indie category. People have a price in mind for what a Metroidvania is going to cost. So if you charge like a AAA game,
the best thing in this story is they shut down the team.
Right. Well,
so
what was the Microsoft the Microsoft shut down the studio of a really popular game, Hi-Fi Rush. That one.
Hi-Fi Rush, yeah. So yeah, they made a small experiment. Like this was not the next big Prince of Persia. That was like you said, the Metroidvania. It's a saturated indie market.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to make one, and people, I think I saw reviews. People liked it. It was a little but no, they look at the numbers and they said no, it did not reach expectation.
Right.
Closing down the team. And yes, same thing. Hi-Fi Rush. They even themselves said it was above expectations, and they shut down the team.
Yeah, I think this is the problem you have with these studios. They're so big that if something isn't a breakout success, it's basically deemed a failure. And I don't know how much longer that can really go on for. Like
and they expect all the games to be a breakout success.
Right.
And they are putting a lot of money to try to get there. And that's why I was saying I think we need to praise Nintendo, because all the other studios, the big players, I think they are really going to their is Microsoft going to have a next console?
Microsoft's a weird
I'm not
one,
sure,
because
and
like they've made
because
they do everything on they remember they owned Windows.
Yeah, but it's so costly. All their projects is so costly,
Right?
And then when it fails, they have people that studied for years and years marketing and draw the wrong conclusions on why it failed.
Right.
Warner Bros said we need more live. After the Suicide Squad, they said we need to double down on live service games.
I think
after the success of Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, there is a high possibility that Suicide Squad is being shut down after the next season. They during the Black Friday Steam sale, they sold it at $2.99, and I think they did get a player base boost by like 1,000 people. Because look, it's $3, right? Like, you heard about this game for so long. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's $3. Sure, might as well, but that's not how you like keep a game going.
Yeah, we did not even talk about Concord, but I'm not sure we need to add on on that fire.
Yeah, Concord. But yeah, well, then you have other games where they just release Like, Concord at least was not a buggy game. It's just a game people didn't like. Games like Redfall came out, and it just wasn't finished.
Yeah, but again, there is so much. If Concord was a small experiment, they 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 bet on those projects as if, like, try to start small. Where is the Concord one?
Well, yeah, they
Where is the
thought.
small where is the small Concord game that people ended up enjoying? So then you make Concord 2 and people really like it, and then you make Concord 3, and then you spend $400 million
Right.
on that one, because everyone knows the characters for the past 3 games. They all have their favorite. They line up to get it. You're making the 5th game of the franchise. No one ever seen your in universe or
Right, you're
anything
trying
like
to
that.
make Baldur's Gate 3 before you've made anything else.
Exactly. Why are you
Like, they
doing
thought it was
this?
going to be a giant cinematic universe. If you look at like their like project release schedule, they had a comic plan. They had multiple comics planned. They've got an episode in that secret level series that's coming out.
Yeah.
They've got like they have 4 seasons planned. The characters in secret level, none of them are in the game. So that secret level episode was going to be an ad for their new season where they're going to add those new characters, right? Like they were trying to
know
do
that.
they were trying to do like Infinity War without doing any of the other movies.
And without any comics.
Right.
Without any.
Like they didn't have, 80 years of Marvel comics. They were just like, "Oh yeah, let's just do it just by itself."
But then, as we said, to make the first game of the series that would maybe be a 2D pixel art game, you need to invest a really small amount of money on a really small team that you need to micromanage, and that will not give you a constant stream of revenue. And so you cannot really talk about it in the investor meeting about that small project,
Right.
So I think that's why. But then and yeah, so coming back to achievements and finishing games and stuff like that, I think in the in the in the past, players were just having one game for Christmas. Like, some players still do, like children still do, but us,
Then
when we
like
were
a lot, you say that, but a lot of them only play like there's so many good free to play games now. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Like you could be a 10-year-old and play Genshin or Fortnite or Marvel Rivals just
Roblox.
came out. Roblox,
Roblox.
yeah. And like like these are all free, and like you could play these games for thousands of hours.
Oh yeah, for sure. But when we were children, you had one game, and achievements were the only way to get some more content out of those games. And I think some players kept that habit, even if they have a gigantic backlog of games because of some still sales. And as you said, if you don't enjoy grinding the achievements, you're an adult, you have a big catalog of games, they are free to play. Go try something else.
Oh, that's the other thing about Path of Exile. That is also free to play. But I think the issue you also have with people is, okay, so if you sit down to play a game, and then on your second monitor, you have a live stream open, and then on your other monitor, you have a YouTube video open, and you're in a Discord call, and then you've got your game on the main monitor, like, look, you're not in a situation to enjoy a game. Like, there are some games where they're basically like, effectively just like background noise. A game like web fishing, if you've played that or heard of that, where
I heard of it.
yeah, for anyone who hasn't, it's a very simple fishing game. You just stand at a river,
Or
you fish.
Tetris 99 or stuff like that.
Sure. But if it's a game like
Hellblade.
You game like Kingdom Hearts 3, a game like Black Myth Wukong, if you're just giving the game like 10% of your attention, you're never going to enjoy it.
You're ruining it.
Right.
And
I watch my housemate play games. He's like watching a live stream. He's got the game in windowed mode on his like secondary monitor. So the game's not even on his main monitor. So he's got the stream over here, the game over here. Like what? Like yeah, you're not going to enjoy the game.
And I think that's the reason why we have a big back catalog like this, because I have a lot of games where I'm like, when I will have time to sit down and play it properly, that will be a good game. So I almost never do that. I almost never just sit down, stop listening to a podcast or stuff like that. So I have like Near Automata, Piling with Hellblade, like all the games are started. I did the tutorial part, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to play them someday, yeah.
Yeah. Especially story games, right? Like there are games where, it's going to involve some grinding. Like I play a lot of Monster Hunter, and you get to a point where you don't need to pay attention. Like there's a hunt you have to do. You got to go kill Rathian or whatever, get some parts for an upgrade. Like you don't really need to pay attention. But if it's especially like Nier, or especially so, like that's a game where I would never recommend listening to anything in the background, because the music in that game, it's like that sets the tone of every scene. How much of you said you had started it? How much of it have you played? I don't want to say too much.
The town collapsed, and I battled with the people in the collapsed town. Like I think it's the beginning. I'm not sure.
Have you seen the desert?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went there. Yeah.
Have you seen the circus?
Yes.
The second you walk into that zone and the music starts playing, and you see the robots,
really weird.
They're not hostile.
Yeah.
It's a really eerie moment, because you start to think, wait, am I possibly the bad guy here? Is there something more that I'm not being told? And you just don't get that if you're listening to AC/DC in the background.
Yeah, and you just start fighting them without even questioning it.
Right.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say that is good about the at least the Western AAA game industry not really having an idea what it's doing. There's a lot of big companies in like China that are coming up, and in Japan that are like making games that people are really enjoying right now. But it's opening up a space for some of these like indie games, and like I guess moving into like that AA category. Like a Devolver Digital is a really good example of this. I remember when they were a tiny company, but there are so many games under their belt now, and all of them are these like tiny, experimental games, and maybe they're not all for you, but like it's really like, there's always something really cool.
Like Balatro nominated as Game of the Year.
It's not my game. Like I'm not a super big fan of it, but like I get it. It's
me
cool.
Me neither. But it's a testament of a kind of a switch of as you said, it's opening opportunities. Players want to play games, so if you're giving them remasters after remasters and failed big experiments, they will still want to play games, and they will try to find new stuff. Like, what's the new stuff? They might buy your remaster, but are we playing Last of Us part 1
Yeah, Last of Us
remastered, part
remaster,
2
like that's. I think
twice?
yeah, I think there's a difference between like remasters and remakes, especially so when it's really transformative to the game. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake is a great example of this
Yeah,
because it
it's a
takes
new
a
game.
game
Yeah.
and it makes it something that most people have heard the name Final Fantasy VII, but you look at the graphics, it's a PS1 game, and like for some people that's just not really that approachable. But
Yeah.
you take that experience and turn it into something that frankly is the best thing that Square Enix has done in a long time, because they are kind of floundering with the mainline the mainline new Final Fantasy games, not really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you keep having that happen, when it's okay, let's do another remake and another remake and another one, and like
I think
it's like
people buy them, but because they are like, I have my favorite game in the best possible way of playing it. I'm not sure people play it. Not all of them, of course.
right.
I am sure some people will play them, but I'm sure there are marketing towards people like, hey, that's your favorite thing, right? So you will buy it, right?
Mhm.
um and that's even Disney is doing it with the movies,
I was
with
gonna say the
live
live
action
action
remake.
Disney stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And where is the Toy Story 1 remaster? I want this.
Hmm.
Like, okay, this is a tangent, but why on are they not just taking all their files and rendering them again with today's technology? Because that will be so cool. If you check Toy Story 1, it's still
It looks
also pretty good.
really good for what was like 90.
It,
What year was that?
99, I think.
Was it
I think 99.
95? 95?
95.
Jesus Christ!
Like,
Yeah.
at some point you have Buzz Lightyear jumping out of a window,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, wait, they have subsurface scattering like 30 years ago. They were crazy, like,
Yeah.
because you can see the light shining through the plastic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but then you see the dog, and
Yeah.
then
Wait. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
and then you're like, please just re-render all of this, and this will be your only allowed remastered, because I'm not going to go see Lion King. uh
Oh yeah. You don't want to watch me faster? Yeah.
uh
Again, it's going back to the same thing, right? Like it when you're so big, it is so hard to make an experimental new change. I think a great example of this is what's happened to Far Cry. They absolutely like cooked with Far Cry 3. They made an amazing game with an amazing antagonist, and then they made Far Cry 3.5 and Far Cry 3. And like Far Cry 6 is just Far Cry 3. They just keep making the same game because they had a formula that worked, and it's the same thing with Assassin's Creed for a long time, where they just kept doing the same thing. They did change with like the Egypt one, they made it more of an RPG, so they did like experiment with that, but it's still, you play a Ubisoft open world game, right? Like it's climb the tower, get the vantage point. It's like the same thing over and over again, and
yeah.
it was good 10 years
Yeah.
ago, but like it's 10 years of the same thing.
When they released, I don't even know the name of it's the first quadruple A game. When
Yeah.
Skull and Bones.
Yes, that one.
Skull and when they released the first quadruple A game,
Yeah.
I'm just 1A, but
Yeah.
one day I will be the first quintuple A. I promise. I promise. My next game, I'm going to announce it's a
$900 million budget.
Yeah, when they released this quadruple A game, I checked it out, and then I bought Black Flag on PS3, and I played Black Flag on my dusted my PS3. Uh, I had to set the date and time because it was shut down.
Mm-mm.
I think I had a better experience playing my $2 copy of Black Flag on my PS3 than people playing Skull and Bones. I saw people doing comparisons, and why? What are? I don't know if my question is what are they doing now, or how they did it back then. Like I don't know which one is it, because I think on some aspect it's how they did it back then, because I think a lot of people were do, making games out of passion
I
and being
Yeah.
exploited,
Right.
and I think today those people maybe are fed up with that,
Yeah,
or
a lot of them
were,
gone to make indie studios.
yeah, they were like, wait, I made the best game ever, and now I have a bigger cubicle, you
Mhm.
know.
Like, if
um
you're a super talented game designer, like, why why would you stay at like a big company that's gonna have like 10 layers of management above you to make any decision?
yeah, but I really, I'm not doing any hyperbole
Mhm.
when I say I think Black Flag might be on the PS3. Like, I'm not saying the remaster on modern computer. I'm saying when you run it on the PS3 right now,
Mhm.
I think it's a better experience than Skull and Bones was at release.
Well,
And I don't know at that point what the experience is, but
I
yeah, yeah,
I think the difference is the focus of the game. And this is something that like really bothers me. Every time I watch a game trailer and half the trailer is focused on, hey, we have realistic models of the tongue. I'm like, I don't care. Like, oh, we have subsurface light scattering on the eyes. Like, okay, cool. Where's the video game? Right? Like,
and
and
and then
this,
you have Nintendo that just is like, hey, we are making games.
hey, we made Mario 30 years ago. You're gonna buy the new one.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
yeah, and yeah, but they're like, yeah, we're using a 10 years old hardware,
Mhm.
but we had a fun idea for gameplay, so go and try it out.
I think the issue you have is computers have gotten so fast, consoles have gotten so fast that there isn't limitations in rendering anymore. And
Yeah,
this has gotten more so now that there's been this push into like frame gen and DLSS. So now you're having these fake frames generated. So you can
yeah,
have these games that are just pushing graphics to the extreme that are not really focused on optimization, and they're pushing just things that don't matter. Whereas if we're talking about, an indie game where you just don't have the you don't have the skill set to make realistic 3D models, or you don't have the time or the budget, or if we're
the
talking about like
resources, yeah.
PS2 games, you didn't have the ability to make realistic 3D models. Now people tried, don't get me wrong, but if you want, like, I think when the hardware was more limited, it forced developers to focus more on style and substance rather than photorealism. And photorealism's cool, but when everything is photorealistic, it stops being an interesting gimmick.
I think there's also the fact that um, the two big players, Microsoft and Sony,
Mhm,
they I think they're a bit late on what they are betting on,
mhm,
and they bet on realism and graphism for the past two console generations, and
mhm,
it paid out. They had great success because they had great upgrades from the PS2 to the PS3, and even
mhm,
from the PS3 to the PS4. We had significant better graphics from the
mhm,
PS3 to the PS4. But honestly, from the PS4 to the PS5, I don't see a lot of difference.
right.
If I know some people, they will
Mhm,
defend that it's drastically different with ray tracing and stuff like that.
sure, sure.
From my point of view, when I played GTA on a PS3, I see that it's struggling. It's not showing me as much details as it could. When I
Mhm,
play that on a PS4, it's kind of perfect. And when I play that on a PS5, I I don't have a PS5, but when I look up comparison online,
mhm,
I don't see a lot of differences. And I think the final nail in the coffin for this mentality of let's bet on graphics and it will work out is the PS5 Pro,
right.
because they unveiled the PS5 Pro and
People like,
it was
it's
even people that were like, "Hey, PlayStation make the best graphics." Even those people were like, "What are you doing?"
yeah.
That's it. I have my 4K TV. I'm playing my game in 4K. Where's the game?
Mhm, mhm.
I want a game now to
Yeah.
play my new cons. Uh, is it really a new generation? Like, is the PS5 really a new generation?
Mhm,
I'm not
mhm.
sure.
I
I, I don't feel like it.
I remember seeing the PS5 Pro announcement, and look, maybe it's just the YouTube compression, right? But like, I looked at the side by sides, and I just I couldn't see the difference in a lot of cases. And when there was a difference, it'll be in like, oh look, the crowds in Gran Turismo are more detailed. Like,
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't look at the.
I'm not driving at 5 kilometers an hour. I'm not gonna see them.
And I had fun on Wii Sport Tennis when it was 2D sprite at 2 FPS.
Well, my
And
favorite my favorite racing game is Need for Speed Most Wanted. The entire game has a piss filter on it. Everything's yellow for no reason.
so yeah, so yeah, and when you say maybe it was the compression, no, people bought that's it. People bought the PS5 Pro. They
Mhm.
tried it and they told us, and it's not a big like. I saw reviews that were like, yeah, it's because reviewers try to be positive and enthusiastic, so they have to give a positive
Right.
aspect of
Yeah, you want to keep
the.
getting invited to those media events.
So yeah, if you enjoy playing at this distance from your TV, you will see difference. That will be dramatically different. But if you play at, like, if you sit on a couch, you don't need this new console.
I, I, I honestly, I, I do think we've actually kind of hit a point of not even just diminishing returns at this point. Like, when I see these like big games that are like, these crazy UE5 games, I just look at them and I'm like, I this doesn't look any better than like
Yeah,
any of the like when like, because UE6 is eventually going to come out. There's going to be some tech demos. They're going to be like, look at this perfect realistic lighting. But I think the other issue, and this is one of the things I actually don't like about ray tracing. I feel like ray tracing it's this, how would you say it? It's kind of taken away the creativity of lighting, because a lot of
yeah,
there's this
of course.
idea that lighting needs to be realistic, and it does.
Sometimes
Yeah, in some games it makes a lot of sense, but it
that's the
doesn't
thing.
have to
It's
be.
realistic is one art style.
Mhm. Right, that's the problem. Yeah, we've put so much, and Nintendo, again, great example of this. Nintendo doesn't care at all that their games don't look realistic. Yeah,
Yeah,
they have much better looking water than they did on the GameCube, and they have much better look. Like their physics engine considerably better. You know, they have much higher quality models, but you look at a Nintendo game. This, I think, is the prime example. You look at a Nintendo game and you know exactly what game that is from. And I think this is the case with games like Astrobot as well, and that's what Sony did really well with it. But then you look at like a lot of these realistic looking games, and I couldn't tell you what what a
yeah,
screenshot of them are from.
yeah. And I remember, I don't know if it was a Game Award or a Summer Game Fest or something like that, but at some point we had a lot of that's the I think it was the Summer Game Fest, where there was Concord revealed,
Mm-hmm.
and there were um Black Mirror, the new, no, not Black Mirror,
Black Myth,
Mirror, no,
Black
what's the game, Perfect Dark, sorry.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I was really far from
Yeah.
the, they unveiled a new Perfect Dark,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of the audience was exactly as you said, like, it's the same game, you're showing the same game 20 times now.
Right.
But as you said, ray tracing, it was unveiled as a way to simplify work for developers, and as exactly as you said, I think if like, it's going to be way harder to give identities to games using only ray tracing,
Mhm.
because then you have um to like use real techniques to create, like, you need to be like a cinema.
Mhm.
At that point you need to employ like photography people to be able to place lights at the right place,
Mhm.
or stuff like that. But at some point, one indie game maker is going to
Well,
come here and just use a big pixelated shader, and everyone will like this game.
a great example is, have you played Ori before?
Ori?
Yeah, ORI.
Yeah, I
Yeah, the
played
lighting
it.
in that game's not
Yeah.
realistic at all. Not even close. But it's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah. And so yeah, so we are achieving realistic games really well.
Mhm.
But then when developers had to use all the tricks in the book to be able to m- obtain a level of realistic vibes, at that point it
Mhm.
was only vibes of, they had to make decisions.
Mm-mm-mm.
They had to choose, like, I'm going to add a way to shade the character. Should it be smooth? Should it be should we see the edge? And every little decision was made by someone.
Mhm.
And when you play the game, you don't see every little decision, but you feel the intentionality behind everything.
Right.
And intentionality is getting thrown out of the window with ray tracing, but also AI.
Yeah, yeah. How do you feel about the maybe not like AI content generation, because that's a whole nother topic unto itself, but the idea of like AI frame generation. We can start with that and we can go to the other direction. So not raster graphics, just, you know, the traditional way of handling things. Like I'll look at like Monster Hunter Wilds, for example. I'm going to play the game because I love Monster Hunter. But the recommended graphic settings are DLSS enabled, frame gen enabled. It's like just to get 60 FPS on medium, right?
Yeah. um f- so my point of view on this is, if you use AI, machine learning, all that stuff, for tasks that you know exactly what output you expect,
Mhm.
and it's a simple task that you can describe really simply, and you could invalidate the output by seeing the output, and you really keep it at that scale, I think those uses of AI are good. For instance, handwriting text recognition.
Sure.
This is a great use case because you know that this is not the word you were trying to write,
Mhm.
and this, if you want to do that with traditional algorithms, it's horrible.
Mhm.
You will need to like to detect edges and like it's horrible.
Mhm.
But as soon as you take different tasks and you skip the phase where the user see the output of one task,
Mhm.
and you group tasks and you have a big output of different tasks, and you don't know at all how the AI did that kind of stuff, that's when you lose intentionality, as we said,
Mhm.
but also you introduce bias and you introduce edge cases where you didn't know it will happen that way.
Mhm.
So, for instance, in handwriting, the worst case is it's a drawing and not a word. So you have a instead of a little stick figure, you know?
Mhm.
But for a lot of other cases, if you didn't know the user will input something, then you don't know what it will output. You have no way of knowing how it works. And if someone tries to understand how um, a neural network works, it will work. It will need like maybe hundreds of people working on like for
Mhm.
years to decode the weights on the nodes and to understand how that's how the AI did it. They first detect the edges of the writing, but you cannot just figure that out. It's a black box where you don't understand anything, and it's really complicated to decode. So
Mhm.
for frame generating, I think it falls into the category of we know what we expect. We know the worst case is an artifact.
Mhm.
Like the worst case is, oh, that was a bit blurry, or the the arm of Spider-Man is now merged with the building for one frame, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for it will not change the look of your game drastically. If you stop moving the camera, it's exactly what the artist intend.
Mhm.
So it's, for me, it's harmless in that case. Same thing for um uh, like some denoiser don't do like do amazing work without really changing what you expect.
Mhm. Mhm.
So for that kind of AI, I don't have an issue. The thing is, the way it's marketed by, and I find it really funny the way, like, it's genius from Nvidia,
Mhm.
and to have marketed all those technologies, to have made all those technologies, and marketed them um, as if it was hardware, new hardware stuff,
Mhm.
when anyone with the technology could have included that in their game.
Mhm.
um you know what I mean? Like, it's just a trick. It's a complicated one, but it's a trick, and they marketed that as if it was from the graphics card point of view. So the games uses that software instead of the games having that trick.
Mhm. Did you see the announcement for the Intel Battle Mage cards?
I heard about it.
Okay, so there was a point in it where they were explaining their like AI graphic stack, and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, so we use XCSS, which is their like DLSS competitor, and then we have frame gen to interpolate new frames, and to compensate for the extra input lag, we have this other system which predicts what your input is and then sends it to the GPU so we can ensure that the input lag is less. And the demo they showed was very funny because they compared the XCSS and FrameGen with that system versus without, but they didn't compare it against not having any of that. So they were like, oh, look how much better the input lag improvement is compared to this. Like, okay, but what about actually rendering real
Rendering
frames?
the frame, yeah. uh I yeah, I think they did frame interpolation. So the 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 stack now is you're rendering a 720p frame,
Mhm.
and you're interpolating pixels to have a 1440p image, and then you're interpolating frames between them to have double the frame rate.
Yep.
And I think
And
it's a
then you
really
have
good.
your AI input management thing to ensure that your input lag is not too high, so it's uncomfortable to play.
And then at the end, you have the player that plugs that into their TV with frame interpolation turns
Yeah,
on
yeah. Just
with latency.
look at this
But
point.
yeah,
Why even have a video game? Just imagine everything. Just interpolate everything.
but I think it's a good compromise because we don't need 4K.
Right. 4K. I remember when 4K was first coming out, people were like, "Is this going to be the next jump?" Because I was there with the move to 720p, and that was a giant jump. I was there with the move to 1080p. I was there when some people tried 1440, but like that, I think it's around 20% on the Steam hardware survey. So a sizable amount of people, but it just never really caught on as much. And then 4K, it's just like it's never really been a big deal because with the earlier resolution jumps, firstly there are a lot smaller jumps, right? Going from 720 to 1080 is a lot less than 1080 to 4K because that is a 4x increase in the number of pixels you have to render. But also,
Yeah, but it's a bigger increase from your perception.
sure. But the other point I was going to get at is
Yeah.
as those improvements were happening, we're also having a lot of improvements in model quality, and games were being rendered at higher and higher like internal game resolutions, like for the models, for the grasses, for the improved physics engines, improved game AI. So we never really got to a point where it sort of caught up, and 4K's always been like further down the line. And on monitors, like frankly, 4K just doesn't matter. Like on a big TV, like that's cool, sure. But like if you're playing on a 27-inch monitor, like
Yeah, from my point of view, if you have a 4K monitor or TV and you want to play your game in 4K, from my point of view, y- there's no need for that.
mhm.
So if you interpolate the pixels for your 4K TV, that you're barely going to see those new pixels.
Mhm.
And so if they are interpolated, is it a big deal? Of course, if you're rendering a 360p game and trying to get 1080 from that,
Yeah.
that's I think that will be horrible.
I
Um,
can confirm I've tried it before. It's it's a funny experiment, right? Like it's cool that it can happen, but like
yeah,
it's not good.
but when we are debating, can you really you see a lot of videos? Can you really see the difference between those two TVs?
Mhm.
That one, I'm not going to tell you the resolution, and then people have to be like that close to be able to say,
Right,
oh
right.
yeah, there's a difference. At that point, there is a perceptual difference, of
Mhm.
course, but at that point you can just use interpolated pixels to fill the gaps, and I don't think it's a big issue.
Mhm.
And that way, from the developer perspective, we can then focus on making good games and not making games that will run on 8K. Please don't continue increasing the resolution. We don't care, and we don't want developers to have to, like, developers already have to lower their, like, to think about, hey, someone is going to want that native on 4K at 120. And I think people don't understand that when developer have this goal in mind, it's it's going to have impact on first the game cost. So the game, like all of your game, you have a budget for it. So if you put time and effort for making it work on 4K 120 FPS,
Mm-hmm.
that's effort not put into another quest, another,
Right.
So yeah, so I think we should all target 10. I know a lot of players will be mad about this. 1080 60 FPS
Well, you shouldn't really be.
is good.
If you're tying, well, if you're tying your game to your frame rate, like I think we have a problem there. I agree with
Oh
the
no, no,
1080
no.
part, but like,
No, you don't. I'm not saying
okay,
to.
sure.
I'm saying targeting. So that means
Oh, so like
to
playable at that rate, sure, yeah.
yeah. So when you make the game with the intended hardware, so for consoles, it's way simpler. Like you know what the hardware is. For PC, you you expect the players to have, for instance, 3060s, okay, the GPUs. And then when you make the game, you need to make sure if they have a 3060 GPU, the game should be running at 60 FPS on 1080p. So that's what I'm saying
Right, right, right,
when I
right,
say
right.
targeting. If someone has a 4080 Ti, or I think it's 50 now. I'm not sure.
No, 50 comes
If,
out next year, I believe.
yeah, if they have 4080 Ti or something like that, and they want to run the game at 4K 120, they can try, but I think we should target 1080 60 FPS, and then we can unlock greater resolutions or frame rate with interpolation and
Okay,
DLSS and stuff like that.
okay, that's fair. That's fair. Um, well, I get we've sort of like gone down like a side tangent for a while, but I did want to
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
ask you about now that you got your game releasing on Steam. What is it, like 10 days from now, 10 days from now, something like that.
yeah, yeah. That's
What
it.
is the process like of actually getting a game onto Steam? Like, how do you do that? Where do you even begin?
So I'm not sure what I can. I'm sure there's stuff I cannot say
Okay.
because there are agreements, but I'm going to talk about stuff that I read. I read online anyways, so that's already known.
Mhm.
So you have to pay a fee to be able to create a page on there.
Mhm.
You have to an application to be added. Then they accept your page, and then so you don't have to show any game for this. You just have to show the concept,
Mhm.
and it's recommended to create the page as early as possible to be able to get people to wishlist the game, and to have some hype for the game. um, I I already have 1,000, more than 1,000 wishlist on Fallacy quiz.
Wow. Okay, that's cool.
So go wishlist
Yeah,
it,
I'm gonna do that
so
now.
before
Definitely.
the release, because I think your place on the store will be impacted by the number of wishlists. I'm not sure about this, but that's what everyone's saying.
Mhm. Yeah, I've heard that
So
from other indie devs, so I would assume that's the case.
yeah, but then you have to make all. Okay, so I have so many hats
Mhm.
because I will have someone employed to just create all the assets for the store. You have to create so much assets for all the possible, like, when you play the game, you have a little picture of the game you're playing this, and this
Mm-mm-mm.
is it's in landscape. Then you go into your library, and it's a portrait of your asset of your game. You have to create all of this
Mm-hmm.
logo, and yeah, so the logo, you should have your logo already, but you have to provide the logo, the icon for the launcher, all of that stuff. You have to add it. Then you have to create pages. I made the decision to make a game that is available in French and English, so I have to localize everything. And then you have to submit a build to Steam.
Mm-hmm.
um, in my case, I already have I already had a beta version of the game, so I could have just released that on Steam. But I wanted I wanted people to feel like it was made for Steam.
Mhm.
So I was not really a Steam user before. This I had an account, and I think I had Portal 2 because you had a code in the box in
Mhm.
like 10 years ago or something like that. But I wasn't really a user, so I bought some game this summer to try to see what people might expect from a game, and there are some features I feel like that are expected from games on Steam.
Mhm.
Achievements. I
Right.
feel like people like to be able to have achievements for the game. You have controller Steam input support to be
Mhm.
able to use any controller, and they made a really good job from the user, fr- specifically from the user.
I see. What's the developer experience like?
From the user perspective, it's so cool because you can like, I played with gyro control Horizon with my PS4 controller, so that was really nice.
Mhm.
From the developer perspective, it was quite a mess. I had to make an abstraction layer into my game to make it think it was the Steam input was a real controller,
Mhm.
and I had to interface with Steam input
I would
with
assume that
the
Godot probably has something there to help you with that, or
there's SDK made by wait, I need to shout out because they make an amazing work. Godot's team, it's called.
Mhm.
So Godot's team is an SDK, is the a way to interface with Steam SDK with Godot.
Mhm.
It's not part of Godot, but it's supported by
Okay.
yeah. It's the developer is called Gramps.
Mhm.
They make amazing work on this tool, and they support people in their Discord server and all. So yeah, the community is really helpful. I did not have to create my own way to interface with Steam SDK. I had the the chance to be able to use this tool.
Mhm.
But even then, you need to make it work with your already um, made game. Next time, I will it will be easier for me because I will think about this while making the game.
Mhm.
This time I didn't have this chance. But then you need to create your own controller default mapping.
Mhm.
That was a strange process because you need to make that from the client
Okay.
as a like I think you have yeah I have to you have to make the map, like you create the actions and that people can map. You make that in a config file
Mhm.
that you submit, but then you also have to map those actions to the actual buttons from the client as if you were a player tweaking the game,
Okay.
and then you need to set that as the default for the game.
Mhm.
So that was a weird one, especially when you're on Linux and you have both Steam running in Flatpak or natively on your computer.
Right. Right.
And you have to find the config files in the mess that is.
Oh, right.
You know
Mhm.
what could happen here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, okay, yeah. So that was interesting. You also have to support cloud saves.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I decided. Oh yeah. Also, once you support the Steam input, that means that the game should be able to run flawlessly on the Steam Deck.
I was gonna
So
ask you about that.
that's really cool. So I don't have a Steam Deck, and I don't know how to get verified yet.
Mhm.
But if I understand things correctly, the game should run on Steam Deck just fine because I made it on Linux. So that part is good.
Assuming
But
you're not doing anything horribly stupid, you've got controller support, so like that should be fine. Should
yeah,
theoretically.
exactly. And also, we didn't talk about this, but my game I added a full multiplayer mode, local multiplayer mode. 4 players can play together. With two player can play on a keyboard,
Mhm.
on one keyboard with one of them is playing with WASD, other one is playing with the hours. So you can play on a laptop with two person if you don't have controllers or stuff like that.
Mhm.
But you can go crazy and plug all your controllers. I tried with Joy-Cons, I tried with PS4 controllers, and it works.
Is there anything special you have to do from the Steam input side to make that happen?
Apart from solving my own bugs, I think it should, like, if you can support one controller, then you should be able, like, as I said, I made an abstraction layer in my game so that all the interfacing with Steam will be then plugged into my game as if someone was playing with a standard controller.
Mhm.
So I had some issues that I had to fix, but it was my fault.
Okay.
But what that means, that means that now you can play at remote play and also remote play together.
Oh, okay. Is there anything special you
So
have to do from that, or is that just all like that just works?
if you support Steam input, it should work.
Okay.
So I played a game remotely with one of my friend through the Steam remote play together. So I was, and I was pretty happy that I didn't, because I don't have any experience with networking yet in my games.
Mhm.
Um, so you can have a online multiplayer experience using Steam remote play together. So that's
Wow.
really cool. Yeah, because it's becoming harder and harder to gather 4 people.
Right, right. What about things like Steam cards?
What's that?
Well, that's my question.
Should I add that to my to-do list right now?
You don't really need.
Steam cards? What's that?
What are they called? They're not called Steam cards. The Steam. What the hell are they called? Um, there's like the collectible system within Steam. What the hell are they called?
Oh, like all the workshop stuff.
What the hell are they? Why am I blanking on the words? Are they not called? What the? What? What are they? I thought they were called Steam. What are they not called Steam cards? I'm really bothered now.
Are you talking about the workshop, Steam workshop?
Is that what they're part of? The Steam trading cards. There we go.
No, I did not have use for this in my game.
Okay, because some games
Yeah.
like you'll just like do an achievement and it's like here's a card and people like trade them on the Steam. You can like sell the cards and
Okay.
yeah. If I there's a lot of games that do it, a lot of games that don't. It's certainly not a requirement by any means.
Yeah.
But it's it's another one of those things that you can do if you have a game on Steam.
Achievements were quite, because there were no achievement system at all in my game. So I had to find like fun stuff to fun achievements to unlock. I had to make all the icons for all the achievements, and I had to make all the system to be able to track if you unlocked it or not. So that, and I had to make sure every work that I was doing on my game for the Steam version, I will be able to cut for a non-Steam version of the game. So yeah, so there's a lot of layers to be able to be sure I will be able to just remove the Steam content if with without having to remove achievements, for instance. Like I might want to add achievements for a non-Steam version of the game, like maybe a built-in achievement system in the game. So there's a lot of planning to be made to be sure you're not like making a mess, a tangled mess where you cannot release your game without having Steam stuff inside it. You know?
You know, I never even thought about that. I guess that is that like just you know, a lot of games do end up releasing on platforms like GOG and things like that. But just if you want to support Steam, the fact that there is all of this extra stuff that you need to, and I'm sure it's the same if you wanted to build on like for a console, right? You wanted to build for PS5. There's probably some system there to get their controllers working, and then they have like certain games on console now have keyboard and mouse support, and then they have their own achievement system, but then the different consoles have their own different achievement system. So if you want to do the Xbox one, it's different from the PlayStation, different from Nintendo. Yeah, that just had never really like come to me as like a thing you would need to actually consider.
Yeah, and then you have to support a lot of platform as one person. I had to cut, for instance, Mac compatibility. The game works on Mac M1 chips, like in Apple chips. The thing is, they want me to sign my code or something, and I wanted to release the game, and I was like, so it's not working on Intel Macs. I will have to have a dedicated version for Intel Macs. And even with a dedicated version for Intel Macs, it's not working on all Intel Macs. I had some people try, and it crashed their computer completely.
Oh.
Yeah. It's working on Apple M1 that people tried, but it's not working right now with the Steam SDK because the SDK itself is not signed by me. So I will need to figure that out. And I was like, I'm one person. Go get the non-Steam version on itch when I release it.
Yeah, that's
And
understandable.
I think I have 20 Mac users that wishlist the game. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but
no, that's understandable. Yeah.
But yeah, it will be great then to release on. Yeah, I'm future proofing because I want to release that game after on other platforms after this. So it will I will be able to do so. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, that and at least now that once you've done it, right? Once you've done it once, doing it for a future title, now that you have that knowledge and hopefully you've written the code in a way that it can be like reused, maybe, or at least like even if it can't be reused directly, you've understand the concept now and can build that again in the future. Maybe at some point build a generic solution where if you want to just ship it between different games, like you can go ahead and do so.
And just to understand all the packaging, building, depot system of Steam, they have three layers of they have package, depot, builds, branches, and you have to understand all of this. Now I understand all of that. As I said, if the next game I will have all of this in mind from the get-go. It will be way easier in the end to have everything in the game. Yeah, and and I know what the scope might be for for this part of the work. Honestly, when I released the multiplayer update, I think it was in August. I was like, let's get the Steam stuff done and release, and maybe it's a October, September release.
Yeah, good luck with that.
To end with the steps on for releasing on Steam, then you show your build, like you send your build. They played the game. The review. I'm not sure I can share too much about the review, but they did unlock the expert mode in the game,
Wow.
and they did try one game in expert mode. So I'm like, yeah, there's someone out there that tried my game, and that made good advice for, like, you might want to, for instance, when you unplug a controller, you
Mhm.
might want the game to pause.
Mm.
So that means two things. First, they try to do that in my game, so they spend time to try to do stuff in my game to see if they work. But also, they might have a list of things to try to see if the game lacks some features or not.
Right. Yeah, a lot of games I'll find if you try to plug in a controller after it's started or you hot swap different controllers, some
Yeah,
games just they will either not detect the controller that you've plugged in or they will use the wrong button prompts. It'll show the PlayStation prompts
yeah.
instead of the Xbox. Oh, that's probably another thing you had to deal with. Do you actually show the button prompts?
I dumbed it down so much that you
Okay.
can use any button to accept.
Okay, okay. That saves.
I
You just need to show like a D-pad, maybe if that's what you want to show.
I I hate Xbox and Nintendo for having A and B
Mhm, mhm,
at their different place, and for Xbox to have it at the same place but doing different actions.
mhm, mhm,
This is A button on Nintendo, and this is accept on Nintendo. This is circle on PlayStation, and this is console.
mhm.
This
Except in some older Japanese titles, and this is a problem I've run into before. Yeah, it was quite common for circle to be accept because circle is often used in
yeah,
Japanese like tests to mark the thing you got correct.
and cross for wrong maybe.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's so in my game, if you do any of those ones, it accepts.
Okay.
And
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that saves you a lot more assets to draw because it.
but I yeah, but I have a cursor on screen to show where your target, what you're targeting,
Mhm, mhm,
and that took me a long time to get working, because
mhm,
I also need to make that work for multiplayer. So you have different cursors pointing at different buttons. But Godot don't have any native solution for multiple focus.
mhm, mhm,
You cannot have multiple, like, two UI items focused at once by
mhm,
two different persons. So I had to make my own way to interact with UI
mhm, mhm.
to be able to make all of that work. So that was a big part of the work.
Well, we've passed the 2 hour mark now, and I think this was a good episode. I really did enjoy this. There's plenty more that we could talk about in another episode in the future. Hopefully, we
Yeah,
don't wait 4 years to do the next one.
yeah, I would be really glad to come back in the future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to go and have a look at the game or get in contact with you or anything like that, where can they go?
So the game, I have a fallacyquiz.com.
Mhm,
You can go there and you should be able to find the link to Steam here. So that's an easy way to find it. Fallacyquiz.com, if all letters attached. If you want to find me, I have teamkrief.com, but maybe links.teamkrief.com, because that way you can find all me online on various platforms. Uh, Blue Sky popped off recently.
mhm,
I was hesitant of getting out of Twitter, but getting like more followers on Blue Sky than on Twitter was a great incentive to.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, so I'm on Blue Sky. Of course, I'm on Mastodon too, and you can find all those links on links.teamcraft.com.
mhm. You also have your itch
Um,
on there as well for some of your other titles.
yep, yeah. And yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, feel free to do so. I would be glad to to talk.
I really like your links website. It's some people go a bit too crazy with it, but like I think that's like a nice effect you have going on there. I need to rewatch mine at some point.
I went too crazy before that one. The first attempt was a Voronoi simulator kind of stuff, and it was too much.
I think the only thing that looks out of place on your site is the text that's not in any of the boxes. Like the boxes themselves are great, but like the text is just like, yes, generic sans serif text.
I'll try to fix that, but it's completely responsive.
Yeah, no, it works really well.
So that was the main focus. Yeah.
Yeah. So when does the game come out? Just as a reminder.
It will be out December 19th, in 9 days now. Maybe if you're listening, it will be a week or something.
Oh, yeah, I'll get this out early. So I might put it up as the next episode. Maybe, yeah. Just so it's, actually like ready for when the game comes out. Yeah, anything else you want to mention?
I already know what I want to do next, what my next project is going to be.
Okay.
I'm really glad that I got a lot of experience through all of those experiments and projects, that now I feel like I can work as a mature developer. Like, I know how to go to the end of a project, which is a big hurdle for indies. So I'm really excited for the next project. I've wanted to start the next project for 3 months now, but I did not fall into the trap of starting again a new project during another one. So yeah, can't wait.
Awesome.
For the next steps.
Maybe before that one's done, you can come back on. So it's not 4 years from now when that game's done.
Sure.
I know we'll work something out again in the future. If you want to come back on, there's plenty more we can discuss. It was a really fun episode.
Yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to rant about having both snaps and Flatpak on my computer.
Well, yeah, we can do that next time then.
We don't have 2 hours right now to talk about that. But we will need to talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, as for my stuff, my main channel is Brody Robertson. I do Linux videos there 6-ish days a week. I've got the gaming channel, Brody on Games. I probably have finished Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point, and I hope to God I'm going to be done with Black Myth Wukong. I'm so sick of this stupid secret boss. It is... Whoever designed Erlang Shen, you deserve to live in the fiery pits of hell. This thing is so stupid. Anyway, I've got the React channel as well. Feel free to check out. I just upload clips from the gaming streams there. And the podcast, if you're listening to the audio version, you can find the video version on YouTube at Tech Over Tea. If you'd like to find the audio version, it is on basically every podcast platform. We also have the video release over on Spotify, so yeah, you can check that out as well. I will give you the final word. What do you want to say?
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, you know what? That's actually the shortest final word I've ever had. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do this again anytime in the future.
See you.